Coming up, Tzu Chi volunteers in Indonesia hand out rice and deliver hot meals to residents affected by the recent flood. Tzu Chi volunteers in Singapore organize a charity sale to raise money for the less fortunate and to encourage the public to safeguard the planet. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Lau. Thank you for joining us. As residents of Jakarta, Indonesia continue to deal with flooding, Tzu Chi volunteers handed out rice to needy residents in neighboring Tangerang. Back in the capital, with the help of local residents, volunteers walked through floodwaters to deliver hot meals to those trapped by the flood.
For residents of Jakarta, Indonesia, flooding has become a part of their daily life. If it floods on the first floor, they will take shelter on the second floor, and soon Tzu Chi volunteers will arrive with hot food.
We want to thank the Tzu Chi Foundation, for it is always the first to arrive, no matter where a disaster strikes in the country or in the world.
In this village in Tangerang, on one street alone, 85% of those living here have been affected by the flooding. At Tzu Chi's recycling station, volunteers asked residents to help with kitchen duties. Even men who have no cooking experience have joined in.
This kind of activity has inspired compassion in people. That's why many male volunteers who haven't cooked in the past are willing to take part and help out in the kitchen.
Over in the neighboring Tangerang, Tzu Chi volunteers are handing out rice vouchers inside a temple. The work continues uninterrupted despite the pouring rain.
The temple began its affinity with Tzu Chi last year. We're very happy to see that volunteers have come back once again. By handing out rice, needy residents will be assisted.
In this village alone, volunteers distributed rice to 650 families. They also promised to return in 3 months to check on the residents and hope that more will be inspired to join in the work.
In the Philippines, the second batch of Tzu Chi prefabricated homes to help shelter Typhoon Haiyan victims in Paloday province were completed last Saturday. The feat would not have been possible without the contribution of many kind-hearted people, including entrepreneurs and businesses from Manila and Typhoon Bopha victims from Compostela Valley. In Palu, the Philippines, 144 families who will be moving into Tzu Chi's prefabricated home have come to familiarize themselves with their new surroundings. They have also formed a community association.
To thank Tzu Chi, we have come together and formed a self-governing organization to maintain the orderliness of the community, which is what the volunteers want too.
Since Typhoon Haiyan, this is the second batch of prefabricated homes that Tzu Chi Philippines chapter has completed in Palu. To help ready the inauguration ceremony, local volunteers joined entrepreneur volunteers from Manila in paving the roads.
People tell me, brother, you will enjoy yourself by coming here and doing this. But I think it's wonderful. Everyone here is having a good time. Though some are local residents, while some are business owners from Manila, we are all doing our best.
Tzu Chi volunteers also deliver housewarming gifts, including Tzu Chi's portable beds and whatever else the residents might need.
To be able to participate and be a part of this is my blessing.
To help pay the level forward, 35 volunteers from Compostela Valley arrived on 2 buses to help assemble the prefabricated homes.
We have been looking forward to the day where we can reciprocate the kindness of Tzu Chi. So that's why we are here to volunteer.
Typhoon Bopha of 2012 brought serious damage to Compostela Valley and nearly toppled Magayong Elementary School. Thanks to Tzu Chi, the school was rebuilt last December.
I am so glad that so many teachers are willing to make the trip. Even though it means paying for the trip ourselves and using our own day off, we still very much want to be here to help.
The municipal mayor of Compostela also brought her daughter along to help. They slept inside the prefab at night and started working when the sun was up.
Fulfilling talaga. Kasi
Our own province also was once ravaged by a storm. After Typhoon Bopha, just like here, all the homes had fallen down. Having experienced what people here went through, we can better empathize with their pain.
With 5 children attending the elementary school, Alina saved to become a volunteer so she may convey her gratitude.
talaga ako ng pera para makapunta.
I'm honored to be here. I'm just giving a little bit of myself.
The group from Compostela Valley also visited Haiyan victims, which reminded them of their painful past. Choking back their emotions, they remind themselves to cherish what they have now.
Iba yung feeling. Nakaka-touch.
At the construction site, 20 employees of a telecommunication company in Manila are here with their boss. They are here to install internet and solar panels.
Actually, I've never seen them work with this much fun and at the same time work this hard.
I can do so much here. This is something that I cannot do while working in Manila. At least I can make a difference here.
With everyone doing what they can, the residents of Apollo are well on their way to starting their new life. In the wake of Typhoon Haiyan, the chief operating officers at Jinx Books and Cafe started a campaign to send volumes of Jinx aphorisms to children in the Philippines. Recently, the volunteers visited 7 different schools, in which more than 4,000 of the books were given to children. Children waving their hands along to the music. This is the scene at a book distribution held in Salangan Elementary School in San Mateo. Among the students is Just Mayo, who says the Jinx aphorisms are one of his favorite books.
To forgive others is in fact being kind to ourselves. The children who are good to their parents are the most blessed. Thank you, Tzu Chi!
Flipping through the Jinx aphorisms, Marith Cabrina, who has taken Master Jenya's words of wisdom to heart. Cabrina is extremely happy because now she finally has a volume of her own.
Nabigyan kami ng
Thank you for providing books for us. These books will definitely help us change for the better.
The volunteers' footsteps in delivering volumes of Jinx aphorisms also reached Pingdong Bukawi Elementary School. As most of the students there can't even afford stationery, having their own books was like a dream come true.
Most of the books in our library focus on machinery or tools. We don't have books like the Jinx aphorisms that can educate youngsters on how to lead a better way of life.
Upon arriving home, Leslie Tomonio quickly signs the word thank you, which she has learned in school, to her deaf-mute mother.
sabihin mo bukas na lang.
Fulfilling filial duties cannot wait. We might miss the chance to do so if we don't cherish the opportunity now.
A good book not only can widen a child's horizon, but also encourage him to her to change their lives for the better. To usher in the new year, Tzu volunteers from Malaysia came together to hold a year-end distribution for their Chinese care recipients. Among them, many recipients have already joined the volunteers' ranks.
Volunteers have been holding year-end distribution and caring for residents in Perak over the last 20 years.
How quickly time flies. As long as I have the strength, I will keep working. On behalf of Tzu Chi.
The first year-end distribution we held was at a local nursing home. This year, I encouraged the youngsters to plan and hold the event by themselves.
The volunteers in Batu Pahat organized a distribution for 48 care recipients. This year, free haircut services were provided for the first time.
This is the first year we are providing free haircut services. Thanks to the help of a group of kind-hearted volunteers. They are giving care recipients a new look for the new year.
Spending time doing charity is worthwhile.
By offering them haircuts, I feel content in the fact that I can help so many people.
Understanding filial piety through serving tea, promoting environmentalism through skits, practicing the 4 foundation of mindfulness through singing, one finds life's way.
They are devoted. I'm so grateful. For many years, Tzu Chi volunteers have tried their best to help us.
I hope we can volunteer more of our time and help the Tzu Chi volunteers. It can also open our eyes to the suffering in the world.
Before the Lunar New Year in Johor Bahru, Zhen Zhian is actively advocating donation for the needy, despite receiving dialysis 4 times a week.
Since the day I received Tzu Chi's help, I've been thinking about how I can reciprocate. And through volunteering, I understood giving without asking for anything in return, because what you gain is not something that money can buy.
At the year-end gathering, inspiring life story touched the care recipient deeply.
Once I get better, I also want to become a volunteer to help people in need.
Instead of serving fish as part of the tradition of the New Year celebration, volunteers prepare a 7-color vegetable dish to promote vegetarianism.
I showed them that instead of preparing meat dishes or raw abalone, we can enjoy tasty vegetarian dishes as a substitute.
你开心吗？开心。有没有过年的感觉？有吗？有。蔬的餐食啊，你吃得开心吗？
很好吃，很开心。又有礼包拿，有红包拿。
In our next report, we go to Taipei, Taiwan, and meet 6th grader Li Qizhen, who has been a vegetarian for 3 years now. Qizhen decided to give at me primary out of compassion and sympathy for animals.
My name is Li Qizhen, and I have been a vegetarian since 3rd grade. It was purely out of sympathy for the animals, and I thought since I don't enjoy meat anyways, I might as well not eat it at all.
Qizhen was very adamant in her decision. Once she set her mind to it, she abstained from meat completely. We would bring home fried chicken, and it wouldn't even sway her. Her father saw how persistent she was to uphold her dietary principles.
When I was in the 4th grade going on to the 5th, my father told me that if I am not getting enough protein, I won't be able to grow as tall.
Sometimes I worry that she is not getting adequate nutrients to grow and develop, so I roast cashew nuts for her to take to school.
I was underweight even when I ate meat in the 1st grade. When I was in the 3rd grade, my grandma prepared cashew nuts for me every day. Eventually, my weight was back within the normal range, which means I put on some weight. Once my grandma and I watched a video clip together. In the end, I couldn't fall asleep because I was so overwhelmed by it. It was frightening to see how animals are being sent to the slaughterhouse to be butchered for their meat. If nobody eats meat, there would be no need to kill these animals.
The fact that my sister is a vegetarian is not troublesome for me at all, because it means I get to eat what she is eating too. When I'm with her, I feel so warm.
I had wanted to become a vegetarian when I was in 1st grade, but my mother didn't agree to it because I was too young then, and she was afraid that I will be malnourished. As my grandma is a vegetarian, and since I don't like meat anyways, I told my mom that I want to go meatless. On New Year's, we organized a hot pot banquet at the school, and my classmates asked me what vegetables I wanted to eat. I thought that it was quite a thoughtful gesture for them to ask me. A vegetarian diet is important to me because it continuously reminds me to cherish and respect all living beings.
Recently, volunteers of the Tzu Chi Singapore chapter organized a 2-day charity sale to raise funds for the less fortunate and to spread the NGO's environmental concepts. Furthermore, team members and Tzu Chi Care recipients also sold their homemade cookies and items to support the charity bazaar. At Tzu Chi's charity bazaar organized by the Tzu Chi Singapore chapter, Tima doctors introduced their homemade cookies to passers-by. To support the Buddhist NGO, a Tzu Chi member and his family donated many Chinese medicinal ingredients for sale.
I want to extend my blessings to others and help the less fortunate. Whenever a disaster strikes, Tzu Chi volunteers always mobilize immediately. When I saw the news of the fundraiser, my family and I decided to come here to show our support.
Under the skillful hands of Tzu Chi Care recipient Mrs. Huang, fabric scraps have transformed into 12 beautiful handbags. As Huang has to look after her husband, who suffers some kidney problem, Huang was only able to work on the handbags during her spare time.
I have received assistance from others, so I want to help the less fortunate too. The money collected today will go towards helping the poor.
The charity bazaar is also joined by a former inmate who was inspired to do good deeds after listening to the volunteers during their bi-monthly visits to the prison. Upon his release, the man quickly contacted the Buddhist NGO.
Tzu Chi offered me tremendous assistance in the past. So when the volunteers asked me if I could come here to wash dishes, I said yes.
At the booth selling Jinx publications, entrepreneur Zhang Jianji happily purchases several books. Zhang says the master starman has motivated him to change his leather business to one that produces eco-friendly products.
These books are really good for us, and I have learned so much from the master by reading them. It took me about 2 to 3 years to transform my business to one that doesn't involve the killing of animals.
As the charity sale is held near a metro station, volunteers hope the convenient location can attract more people to come and learn about the Tzu Chi Foundation.
Some customers probably don't want to eat that much, so please remember to give them the right portion when they tell you they want to eat less.
Besides raising funds to help the poor and needy, Tzu Chi volunteers also seize the chance to promote the organization's environmental ideals.
I think this concept is great because it reminds us to order only what we can finish and not to waste food.
School kitchen staff Liao Yufeng says kids these days are more wasteful and don't realize the need to cherish food.
I feel sad when I see bowls of food dumped away like trash. What Tzu Chi is promoting is great because it is impossible for us to get rid of all the rubbish.
When we contacted all the vendors, we encouraged them to not provide to-go service because we want to decrease the amount of single-use utensils. We have also set up a board outside to ask everyone to dine here.
Despite the inconvenience, many vendors still showed their support by not providing disposable utensils. More than 200 volunteers also mobilize on a daily basis to wash and dry dishes, so vendors have enough utensils to serve their food. The Buddhist NGO's efforts in safeguarding the planet also drew the attention of international environmental organizations.
Here, it's community and sustainability, showing people that they're not mutually exclusive, they can happen together. And that's what's really important here. This is the future. What we're doing here is the future.
A teacher of an international school also brought his students to the fundraiser to help them better understand Tzu Chi's missions. Thanks to everyone's effort, the charity sale has not only raised money for the poor, but also inspired the public to change their way of life. Here in Taiwan, Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital medical personnel extended their warmth to the homeless prior to the Chinese New Year. Apart from purchasing new shoes for their homeless friends, hospital staff and volunteers also helped one homeless settle into his new home.
Helping the homeless try on new shoes on the eve of Chinese New Year, Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital staff and Tzu Chi volunteers are picking out new shoes for 4 homeless friends.
好不好穿？
Happily accepting the blessing and wisdom red envelope from Superintendent Gao Reihe, these recipients hope to reciprocate this generosity by volunteering at the Tzu Chi recycling station.
We provide vegetarian lunchboxes at the recycling station, and they can also pack some dinner to take away with them so they won't have to go hungry. By encouraging them to volunteer, we hope to build up their dignity and confidence and gradually rid them of their bad habits as well.
Medical personnel also brought their children along to help centenarian grandfather Chen clean up his home. Volunteers decided to settle Mr. Kang, who has given up his smoking and drinking habits, next door to grandfather Chen.
Through volunteering, our staff members' children will have a better idea of the selfless spirit of hospital workers. It also helps them understand Tzu Chi's 4 missions of medicine, charity, education, and humanitarianism.
Volunteers put up spring couplets and helped Mr. Kang settle into his new home. Eating the glutinous rice balls volunteers prepared for him, Mr. Kang's heart is filled with gratitude.
The volunteers purchased some items for me, including a closet. I'm a person of few words, but I thank the volunteers deeply. I will contribute as much as I can in the future.
The hospital staff and volunteers' love have lifted the homeless off the streets and helped give them a new beginning and a new outlook on life.
Next, we meet Tzu Chi volunteer Ling Meizhu, an auto body shop owner who watches the Wisdom at Dawn broadcast daily, taking notes and even drawing pictures to memorize the teachings as part of her daily routine. Let's take a look.
Watching the Wisdom at Dawn broadcast in the morning helps increase my confidence, courage, and perseverance.
While watching the Wisdom at Dawn broadcast, Ling Meizhu takes notes and even draws illustration to reinforce the concepts of the master's teaching.
The cattle should have 2 horns. If it only has 1, then its self-esteem and confidence will be hurt.
Not a professional artist, Ling Meizhu draws a person surrounded by fans to symbolize attachment to itself.
In general, we persist in our attachments to self. Hence, the Master shows us now it is time to eradicate our bad habits, temper, and attachment to self.
Attending the morning Dharma lecture has become Ling Meizhu's daily routine. As a team leader, Ling said the Dharma is important food for her soul.
Upon coming across obstacles, I can now find a way to solve them promptly.
Ling Meizhu enjoys spending time in sharing the Dharma with her employees and neighbors.
Our heart will create the thoughts of good or evil. We should often take the constructive side in our interactions with others.
The master disciple should learn the Dharma and promote it with vigor and right effort.
Learning the Dharma has been quite useful in my life. I share what I have learned with others as well. It's said with the Dharma in one's heart, one can take on any challenges. This is true for me. Upon coming across a challenge, I deal with it with the teachings I have learned.
We go back to Malaysia at the end of the show, where teachers at the Tzu Chi Butterworth Kindergarten organize games and activities to help children better understand the Lunar New Year. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.